Welcome to the Dreamers Hub podcast. This podcast is about collaboration between the dreamers and the doers to inspire more people to do more of the things that they enjoy doing. This hub is focused on providing you the kick in the ass you need to jumpstart your dreams. So if you're into that kind of thing, consider subscribing. Yo, welcome back to the Dreamers Hub podcast. Today, on this episode, we have Jasper back again. Hello, Jasper. How are you?
What up?
What's up, man? So I wanted to kind of briefly talk about and have you obviously in on this convo about some of the accountability factors that we faced. I think we had this conversation last week when we were talking about, we're trying to post more, we're trying to be more consistent. And consistency, I think, is something that it can be generalized for anything in life. And so one of the things that we had said we were going to do and help each other out with was keep each other accountable and be able to post more at least once or twice a week, right? And how we did that was completely up to us, depending on what avenues we're trying to go in. But I thought this was a perfect topic to really have this conversation because it has a lot to do with I think accountability in general has a lot to do with the people that you surround yourself with. And so I think who you choose to be around and who you choose not to be around can be all the difference in maybe changes that you're trying to make and or do, as well as maybe things that you can't seem to make or do based off the people that you choose to be around and or not around. So I know that was the initiating thing for us last week and this week. Thankfully, we were both able to get out a video. So if you haven't checked out the videos, please make sure to check them out because they do take a long time to edit. Oh, yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about that topic specifically because I want to know how it helps you. And if you've seen previously, maybe with other crowds or certain people that are in or out of your life, where you can actually literally see changes in your mindset, maybe changes in your everyday. How do you feel about, I guess, the topic?
I think it's really hard, especially if you are like a black sheep of the group also, because you're just like motivated, you're very ambitious, and you got all these ideas. But if you're surrounded by a group of people that's just like, yeah, it's cool, but there's no action to follow, then sometimes that trickles over. It bleeds into you. You're like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do it because nobody else is on board.
Right.
And I think when it comes to, what's that one quote of like when people are like, show me who your friends are and I'll show you like who you are kind of thing.
Yep.
And that kind of makes you think about who you're surrounding yourself. Also like your friends, like who's motivating you. And I know that we both are like doing this YouTube thing. So like we have each other to be accountable. It's like, hey, you uploading? Are you recording? Are we editing? What's going on? Yeah. And so it's like those times that you hit me up. I'm like, fuck, I'm lacking. I gotta get back on it.
Yeah.
So it's like being that hype person, even if it's not like just knowing like you're ambitious and you're doing shit, you're making shit happen. So like that text when I see your name pop, I'm like, fuck, it's a reminder. I gotta get on my shit too, And that just in itself is just like it could be one person.
Right.
Sometimes all you need is just that one hype person too.
Yeah. I didn't even think about like when you are the person that wants to do all these things or the idea person in a group. I never really thought about what that looks like, I guess, on the other side also is like, as a friend, maybe if you're not, I guess, what would you want your friends to do? If you know that you have friends and you're around people that don't necessarily have, let's say, an ambition to do something at the moment, that's not to say that they're never going to have it, but I guess how would you want the people around you to support you maybe, or maybe push you? Do you literally ask them, or do you kind of just be like, okay, well, you're not about it, so maybe this is an excuse for me not to do it because now nobody has to hold me accountable?
I think it really comes down to really looking at your friends, right? which sounds kind of weird, but it's kind of like, we always have a specific person we go to talk to about certain things because you know how they're going to react,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? You're not going to go to one person and be like, I got all these problems. They're just like, mm, or you go to that one friend that you know they're going to enable you no matter what because
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, like, I'm kind of like in that position where like I'm always the idea person, and it has helped me realize like who has my back, who's my hype person. Because you can have friends that aren't ambitious, but they're supportive. They're like, yeah, do it. Like
Yeah.
I support you. Like those friends are okay, but the ones that are just like chilling and then they kind of just want to like ride the wave, like you don't want to be with those people because then sometimes, at least for me, it's I would feel like I gotta carry their baggage to like, come on, because I want everybody to win, right? Like I want to
Yeah.
bring everybody up there, but that's not my responsibility. Like I think it comes to like be a leader too. If you're in that kind of group,
Mhm.
stand out and be a leader, and maybe that will kickstart something within them. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, that's true too. The other thing is like balancing because like you said there's
Hmm.
certain friends that you talk to about certain things and some can be
Hmm.
enablers, some can help you and some can maybe not kind of just be there. And I think I've mentioned this in a previous podcast about like, you have your party friends, you have your creator friends, and then, there's all kinds of categories that you could put your friends in. And sometimes they kind of overlap, but then I think there's a leadership aspect that comes in, self leadership aspect that comes in because if you're hanging out with your party friends all the time and that tends to override the things that you are trying to get into or the things that you are trying to do, whether it's creative, fitness, whatever your goal is. I don't know about you, but I know I suffered a lot from FOMO. For me, like being social and being out there is hard to give up. It's hard to like not want to be around people. As an extrovert, for me, it's hard, right?
Hmm.
And I think that
Hmm.
was a long time of me struggling with that. And obviously, I was younger. Now I'm older. But I think my mindset has also shifted over
Hmm.
to like, okay, I really want to do this. I really want to be about it. Let me put my money where my mouth is, like, and really like push to do these things. And what is that going to take? And I think until we really have those conversations with ourselves, what that looks like outside of ourselves at that point, saying
Hmm.
no to going out, saying no to certain things, it's an eye opener, and then you start realizing that those people are still going to be there no matter what. The people will still support you no matter
Hmm.
what. But
Hmm.
sometimes I think for people that are kind of trying to find the balance between the two and having a hard time sacrificing certain things, it's okay I think to jump back and forth for a little bit because you have to have balance in life. You can't go
Hmm.
1,000% into your passion project or your diet or whatever. Like it just doesn't end up working. You burn yourself out.
Hmm.
And it's hard to find the balance, but I also think that if you don't have that self leadership and you're not that person in the group, it's a lot harder to get some shit done. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. Because a lot of like motivation, ambition also comes from influences from your group of friends. And even if we suffer from like FOMO and stuff, I think through time, once you like really get down into it and you're like disciplined into like, I'm going to fucking do this, sometimes it's okay to realize or come to a realization that you've outgrown that group of friends.
Ooh, dude, outgrowing people is that's a whole nother topic. I'm gonna let you finish, but yes.
Yeah. And that part might hurt at times because you're like, oh, I'm on this new journey of like my hobbies and I'm fucking like, I love it. But why aren't my friends backing me up? But maybe they're just at that capacity and they can't go any further. So you've outgrown them. And then you can't let that stop you. You can't be like, oh, let me just stop because I miss kicking it with them. Like, don't lower yourself back down if you're ready to just take off.
Yeah, dude.
you know?
Yeah, outgrowing is a big one. I think a lot of people tend to hang on to friendships for no real reason. When I think about friendships, like we don't have to talk all the time. I don't have to see you
Hmm.
all the time. Like I've had
Hmm.
friendship for years where I don't talk or we don't text on a daily basis. We might send each
Hmm.
other memes and that's okay. Like just know that I'm still here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think there's ways to maneuver friendships to really like grow with you because
Hmm.
the one of the friendships that I've had, which is one of my best friends that I've had forever, right? I
Hmm.
don't have to see her all the time. I don't have to talk to her all the time. I know she's there and then when times get tough, she might need me, I might need her, vice versa.
Hmm.
But I also know that she's growing herself. Like she's going through personal growth. I know that she's working on herself. I know that she's hustling. I know that she's doing something to better herself. She's ambitious. She's doing things. And I'm on over here doing kind of the same thing. It might have taken me a little bit longer to get there, but I'm just like, okay,
Hmm.
I get it. I'm in it. Like this
Hmm.
is what I want to do. And so I think it's a big eye opener too to be able to see that and not feel like you have to, because I think a lot of people feel like because you've known somebody for so many years, like you have to stay friends with them. No, you don't. You really
No,
don't.
you
That if
don't.
that person
Yeah.
does not bring value to your life, there's no purpose for them in your life. Yes, did you have good times? You had good memories? Wish that person well? Perfect. Like that's
Hmm.
it. Like if I see you around, cool. But I don't know. The value thing is like, and I think as you get older too, like value in your relationships and your friendships is
Yeah.
so much more important than it ever was prior to.
It's also, it comes down to as you get older, you got to preserve your energy and who you spend that energy with. Because it's an exchange. Just like we're talking, we get creative, we get more creative because we're exchanging those energies. But if
Right.
you're talking to someone that's not creative, they're like draining you and you're just like talking to a wall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's kind of rude.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
No.
sorry, but that's true.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Because there is
Yeah.
people
And
that
yeah.
you have people also that let's say you're the hype man, you're the leader, you're the creative, you're trying to do something, right? And let's say that you are around people that are not necessarily there yet. They're still trying to figure out their path. All right, cool. Some of those people have like the same constant quote unquote problem over and over again. When if you were in that same mindset of growing, then you probably wouldn't even have that problem in the first place. And that
Hmm.
is draining. Listening to other people's problems, which they know the answer to, but yet can't seem to get out of. That in itself, like being around those people and that type of negativity and that kind of pull down is hard. And it's hard to like you don't want to unfriend people also, but then you kind of got to know your place when
Yeah.
that time comes, when those people are ready to
Hmm.
jump out of a situation, when those people are ready to grow or maybe find a different path, and then people look for you. Like you also have to be okay sometimes staying on the sideline as a friend to just kind of wait, when that person's ready to come back or
Hmm.
that person's ready to touch base, like that's when you do it. I think it's I don't know. Yeah, I think that some people are just like hanging on to things that they probably shouldn't. And not just friendships, but just like in general. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
things and mental blocks that we hang on to or we tend to hold a grudge against, and holding grudges is probably the worst thing that you can do. Um
Hmm.
just to like try to prove a point when like you mentioned like energy is a big thing, and if you're not exchanging the same kind of energy that I need to keep pushing forward, then that's it.
And it's okay to leave people behind. Like, I think a lot of people do hold on because they feel bad. Don't.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing by hanging on or waiting, I know you said waiting, but I wouldn't say wait for them because sometimes you're going to be waiting forever if they don't change,
Yeah,
right? And you're
that's
just pretty
true.
much like committing suicide if you're waiting and if you keep them around. Because they're always going to be that negative Nancy. They're always going to be that person that's going to drag you back down. So sometimes you have to cut ties, but don't feel bad if you're trying to level up.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show. Right.
You know?
That's true. I say waiting sometimes because sometimes people do take a year, 2 years, you know? And I don't think that that's a long time to figure out the next thing. I really don't, because I think until you really come to learn yourself and know yourself, then you really can't even start looking for a path until that time. And that can take some time. And some people don't or choose not to dig deep until later on in life. But again, to each their own as far as, at what time you find your path. But that's not to say like, hey, it's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to maybe shift your energy to people that you need at that point in time in life. Like right now, I know that I need to be around creative people because that's what I need to fuel my creativity. The more I'm around it, the more I talk to you, the more I talk to other people in the creative field, the more I'm just like, yes, I need to get on my shit. I need to do this. I need to do that. Because I am going to be expecting a text from you. I am going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be able to feel that, to be like, okay, like it's not even like pressure, but it's just like, okay, let's fucking go. It's go time. Like, I need to do this. Like, yes.
I mean, I think starting out with YouTube and everything, like, I think you took that leadership. Like, you paved the way. Like, that's how I hopped on to doing this. And I'm pretty sure you had other friends that hopped on to get on projects.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you feel a lot of pressure because you were that lead person.
I guess, I mean, not pressure. Maybe pressure, but not really. I think one of the things I told myself while starting the podcast and starting the YouTube was, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make sure that I can try to keep some type of consistency before I even started, right? I just don't want to half-ass it, do one video, and then 6 months later I have another video. I knew that at some point, maybe 2 videos a month would be like, okay, you know? And I think right now what I'm feeling is like, okay, how do I keep the momentum? The momentum is hard to keep up. And that's the pressure I feel, is having to like not dip in momentum, like having to maintain it, because I feel like I've been on a good track, but I also, because I pushed myself to do it and I was the first one to go, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I got to maintain it. I can't just start it and then not continue. How do I maintain from here? Hence why I look for you, right? I text you, or whatever, I call you, and I'm ready to have those chats, because it's like, okay, this is me trying to like get my gears going, because I know that my momentum is dipping right now. And when I'm dipping is when you hear me like call you, text you, and I'm just like, I need something right now because it's dipping. Do you feel any pressure now that you started? And keep in mind, this is like self-imposed pressure that I'm talking about, because so I'm asking you as like a self-imposed pressure, because right now I feel is a perfect time to start anything, whether it's a podcast or YouTube or a small business of some sort, because nobody really fucking cares right now. And so you don't have all eyes on you per se, right? But it's a good way, I think, for you to find your niche, what kind of direction you want to go in. But at the same time, you're not just waiting for the perfect time to launch. So my question is, do you find that do you feel self-imposed pressure now that you've started it?
Yeah, so reading back to our chat last week, I'm like, I want to upload 2 videos a week. I'm like, fuck, I opened my mouth real quick on that one, because now I do have that like self-imposed pressure, right? So I'm like, so I did line up like what the series that I just started. So I have that lined up that I want to do weekly, but then I'm like, the second video, what do I want to do with the second video? And I don't think, okay, so people that watch this or listen to this, it's like, content creating is not as easy as it looks if you try to make it a thing. It's a struggle, you know? We have to think about the topics. We got to think about how to plan it or whatever. It's a lot of work. And editing, we know editing takes like a lifetime.
Yeah.
That adds into pressure, because I'm like, I got to think about what I want to vlog talk about. I gotta take that time and to edit, and it's like back to back. It's like nonstop work too. So that's a lot of pressure because like I mean I haven't specified what days I want to upload because I think that'll really kick me in the ass. I'll be like
Yeah, it's
deadlines,
hard. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel it. Like I'm starting to feel that pressure now. Like what today's Monday, right? We talked about Monday last time, but so now I'm just like it's Monday. I released one. Okay, so now what am I gonna do for
Yeah.
my next video? And so now I have that pressure. Like I gotta get it out,
Yeah.
and it's not even about other people, right? It's like on you because this is your channel. You set out to be like letting certain like dropping different videos at a certain time, but wouldn't you feel pressure like you? I mean, I don't know. I personally don't really care so much about like other people, but there's the algorithms, there's that pressure, there's the uploading time, there's just a lot going into just this alone. So can you
Oh,
imagine if
yeah.
we were doing other stuff? I know you're doing other stuff like your shirts and all
Yeah.
that too. I think it's more of for me it's letting myself down if I don't follow through. Let alone like I'm trying not to think so much about other people if I let themselves down because that's gonna send me into a whole different mindset,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how you feel about that. Like, do you think about like, oh, if I didn't upload, I'm gonna let my homies down. I'm gonna let the people down that suspect, or
Yeah,
do you
part
take
of
it
me
more like
feels that
inward,
way.
like it's me? Yeah.
I do it. I want to say like 80% of me is probably like this is on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I made that commitment to myself that when I would start YouTube, right? Because it was a matter of when. I sat on it for 2 years, and it was just a matter of when. When I
Yeah.
started YouTube, that I would be consistent. Um, but it is hard if you don't have friends that are creative, if you don't have friends that
Mm-hmm.
like, especially me too, because I live far from everybody. I know you do too. I don't know if you have your friends close
Yeah.
by, but like I live far from everybody, which prior to living up here, like I had people all around me all the time, which could be
Mm-hmm.
seen as a good thing or a bad thing. I think because I'm alone, I have a lot of downtime. So I mean, I have the time to input. Yes, it does take a lot of time, but what else would I be doing otherwise? Partying, which is like it's always gonna
Mm-hmm.
be there. You know what I mean? So 80% of me feels that way. I'm letting myself down because that's like a commitment I made to myself. 20% is
Yeah.
for the people that do look for the content, right? And it resonates with them, with whoever it does. But a
Yeah.
lot of it also, between the 80 and the 20%, I also tell myself, is this creating unnecessary pressure um, on myself? Like, if I'm so pressured and I'm not happy about what I'm gonna, you know, put out, then I shouldn't even be doing it in the first place. I should give myself a little bit of a break to really take a breather and
Mm-hmm.
really know
Mm-hmm.
what I want to put out. And actually, when I put it out, feel good about when I put it out and not feel like this is a shit video, you know? And to some extent,
Yeah.
not every video is perfect. I think as I've posted more and more videos, like my videos have gradually gotten better and it just, practice and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I don't, yeah, I think it's more of a self imposed pressure. But I think that comes from like just wanting to do well. I think I just want to do well, and I'm sure you do too. And like what you put out,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if your name's attached to it, you want to make it
Oh yeah.
as good as you can for that moment, because obviously you're still gonna be
Mm-hmm.
growing as you continue on your journey and whatnot. But yeah, I really don't think that even any of this pressure would even exist if I never took the leap and or if I didn't have people around me that supported me, because that support system is a big thing. And going back to the topic of this episode is if you don't have those people to support you, if you don't have people that push you or challenge you, um, I challenge you to actually start, looking at the people around you, because you need somebody to challenge your mindset. You need somebody that gives you a different perspective on life and what goals maybe you're trying to achieve.
So when you're talking right now, it jumped into my head that when you're gonna start looking at your friends, just because they have years with you, sometimes those are your biggest haters.
Ooh, that's a can of worms. You think so?
Yeah. hmm If you notice, like your closest friends sometimes aren't always the ones that's going to cheer for you. You always um, get more support from people you don't even know. Have you noticed that?
I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But I don't have like a big circle. Like the people that like support
hmm
me will like send me a text message and stuff like that, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have like a big ass circle. But I think that kind of goes. There is a post that I saw about like supporting your friends or like supporting, yeah, I guess supporting your creative
hmm
friends about like you don't like don't ask for discounts, don't ask for
Yeah.
um like I guess don't ask for like freebies, support your friends in the sense that even if you can't buy their artwork or you can't buy whatever they're selling, um
Share it.
or just share it. Yeah, all you have to do is just share it,
hmm
comment, like, and that's really all you have to do to be able to support it. And I think that from afar goes a long way. So to bring it back to what you
hmm
asked, I do see a lot more likes and like comments from people that I really don't even know, and that I kind of
hmm
just have made or built some type of friendship through like Instagram or whatever. Because
Yeah.
I've actually met a lot of people, not physically met a lot of people, but like made friends with,
Connected.
hmm
Yeah.
with people on the internet. So, which is kind of cool
Yeah.
too. Is like you can really see, your energy really get through to that person via Instagram. That's wild to me.
Doesn't that make you feel good that you're like, fuck, I'm actually making a difference in what I'm doing? So that in itself hypes you up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is crazy. It's super crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Even people you don't know. So that's why I bring it back to like, if you really take a look at your friends, sometimes it's always the closest ones that do ask for free shit
Yeah,
or
it's just
discounts.
crazy.
What's our biggest takeaway? To be a leader, to continue to do your thing if you love it, right?
Yeah,
Because you might just be the one that's motivating the people that weren't doing shit.
yeah, that's true. And what happens when you're not motivated though? Isn't that kind of scary? If you have like a group of 7 friends and nobody's motivated, fuck,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
You're going to have to really take a look at yourself and your friends.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate to say it, but that's true, you know?
No, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is having that real honest conversation with yourself to actually know what you want out of this one life you have, and two, making the changes that you need to make uh to further your I guess to get further in reaching your goal or whatever you're trying to do. Is it is going to take that. It is going to take cutting off people and not being scared of cutting off people. It's another thing because you there's like this thing where you have to dig deep within yourself and you have to figure out what you want to do, right? For you to be happy, to bring some kind of happiness, because that's the end goal, is happiness, right? And then
hmm
you have to go through these like sections of how to get there, and that does start with you, and then it starts with the people around you, and then it starts with what you're doing, behind the scenes and nobody's looking. And so it's like all these things that you don't even think of until you have that conversation with yourself. Like you
Yeah.
don't think that, oh, I'm gonna have to cut off a couple people. You don't ever think that because you don't really have to unless you're trying to get somewhere. And if you're not trying to get somewhere, I guess you don't really have to cut off people.
To add to that is that sometimes these journeys that you're doing things or diving deep into yourself and things that you want to do, sometimes that journey is a lonely one, and that's okay as long as you're
100%.
happy.
Yep. Happiness is the end goal. How you get there is completely up to you. That is really, you are the captain of your journey. So we're going to end it there. All right, Jasper, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. This is episode 6. I appreciate your time, appreciate your coming in here and
Thank you.
allowing me to pick your brain for this topic, and also helping me on my journey as well, and keeping me in check for this creative journey that we're both on. Thank you guys so much for joining in. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Bye. Now hold up. Before we part ways, I want to thank you for listening in. I'd appreciate you helping me inspire others like yourself by simply sharing this podcast with a friend. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, I'd love for you to rate it on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to tune in for more inspirational content next week.